A ballot measure aimed at generating additional funding for Oregon veterans passed overwhelmingly in November.
The measure sets aside 1.5% of Oregon lottery funds for veteran services, funding that's expected to bring in $18 million over the next 2 years.
But the governor's proposed budget for Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs seems to rely heavily on the lottery funding while cutting back significantly on general funds, and that's not sitting well with some vets.
Felt like a slap in the face on the part of the governor and disrespect because, it goes against the will of the people.
The legislative argument of support for Measure 96 explicitly outlined an effort to provide critical support for veterans in addition to current funding. But based on Governor Kate Brown's proposed budget, veteran Terry Haynes says that's not happening.
They're taking money away from what the will of the people voted and using it for purposes other than supporting vets.
The previous budget allocated $10 million for ODVA, plus a $3 million bond for a veteran's home. If that funding was maintained this budget cycle and the lottery funds totaled $18 million as projected, that would equal about $31 million for veteran services. But the governor's budget outlines a total of just $19.8 million, nearly 18 of that being the lottery funds, with just $2 million coming from the general fund, a $10 million difference from what the state put up last year.
$10 million, which would normally have been appropriated for the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs to fund programs like the county veteran service offices.
We reached out to the governor's office for comment, and they told us referencing to the decrease in general funds as a cut was misguided. In a statement, Press Secretary Brian Hockaday says Governor Brown's budget invests in public and private partnerships to actually expand the capacity of ODVA to help prevent veterans' homelessness, provide mental health services, and support student veterans on campus. Oregon veterans will not experience cuts to these core services. And while it is an overall increase in what veterans received last budget cycle, Haynes says it's not what voters or veterans thought they were getting. Voters were essentially under the impression that this was supplemental funding.
Right.
They wanted veterans to have more.
Correct.
If you want to weigh in on the governor's proposed budget, the Senate Ways and Means Committee is holding a public meeting next Friday evening from 5 to 7 at the Stevenson Union Hall at SOU.